My entitled daughter spent the family holiday acting like a brat and got us kicked out of the hotel we were staying at, so I threw her suitcase into a lake. Tiffany's 24 years old. She doesn't drive, doesn't cook, can't even figure out how to turn on an oven. Lives with us rent-free in our guest suite that's bigger than most apartments. Her mother gives her $1,500 every single week, and I've just been letting it happen for 3 years now. I know I'm part of the problem. When she was in middle school, she'd bully kids who wore regular clothes instead of designer brands. So Pedro sure that Haman prevented every clan. Said always reading two horse and pattern middle schools. This year if one fifty is properly, but what's intended. We take a family trip to the Bahamas. First time all three of us would travel together in years. Tiffany loved the idea at first, started posting about it on Instagram before we even booked flights, but the second we landed, everything changed. It was 85 degrees and sunny, perfect weather. Tiffany took one look around the airport and said it was too hot for her furry Gucci jacket. She actually said she'd have to dress like the Burke people in t-shirts and shorts. Her hon didn't even blink. Went free to the hot tour concierge and asked for the nearest luxury boutique. Jacket 3 hours later with E-Ponta Dellingsworth and Trata, casual wear, matching sets, special resort sandals, so works. Day 1 was rough and I figured she'd adjust. That was wrong. Day 2 she slept until 2 p.m. We'd planned a morning snorkeling trip, just left without her. When she finally woke up, she called me 16 times screaming about how we abandoned her. Her mom apologized to her, actually apologized for not waking her up. That night at dinner she sent her poster back 4 times, not thinking anything was wrong with it. She just wanted to see if they'd keep remaking the waiting up that nice did. And after that $200 Tiffany apologized. Day 3 was my actual borsted. Now it was ovations at the incredible seafood rest ride to the water. Takes 6 waiting list, but I left him in Gali. Genuinely excited. Around 5 p.m. I knocked on Tiffany's door to remind her dinner was at 7. She opened it in her silk jammies, phone in hand, and said she'd rather stay in the room than go to some lousy seafood place. Said it so casually like she was turning down McDonald's. My wife tried to convince her, but Tiffany just shrugged and closed the door. I stood there for a solid minute trying to process what just happened. Then I told my wife we were going anyway. I wasn't going to let her ruin this. Dinner was beautiful. The sun set over the water for us lobster. My wife we put her phone down. We talked like we was for 2 hours without everything else. We looked like to the hotel right at 10 p.m. with 2 security guards standing outside our hallway. One of them was on his radio. The other one looked stressed. The second they saw us, they relaxed a little. Asked if we were the parents of the guest in room 412. That was Tiffany's room. Apparently she'd been blasting music since 8 p.m. When the neighbors complained, she turned it up loud. When the hotel staff knocked, she screamed through the door about how she was paying good money and could do whatever she wanted, which was insane because we were paying for everything. Then about 20 minutes before we got back, she threw a glass lamp at the wall, which shivered. She called the front desk, breaking pursuit for harassment. The manager came closer and very professional, very apologetic for. Good thing we got to check out by 9 a.m. tomorrow. No exceptions. They'd already called other hotels in the area to help us relocate. Tiffany came out of her room then, still in those $300 silk pajamas, hair perfect, makeup perfect. She looked at all of us and actually smirked, like this whole thing was funny to her. Something inside me just snapped. I walked into her room, grabbed her main suitcase, the big designer one she'd spent $600 on specifically for this trip, all her favorite outfits, the new resort wear, her makeup bags, everything she'd been so proud to pack. She started yelling, asking what we were doing, but this word truth word alive with that suitcase. Everything hurting up for me. Tiffany was screaming. Hotel guests were staring. I went out the back exit. There's a dock behind the hotel that goes out over the water. Beautiful view, peaceful. I walked to the very end of it. Then I threw that suitcase as hard as I could into the ocean. It made this perfect splash. I watched it sink. All those designer clothes, the makeup, the jewelry, everything. About $6,000 worth of stuff that's disappearing into the dark water. Tiffany was screaming behind me. All was screaming about just it. They were working with sink. About finally throwing about Tiffany's face was worth of tearings, worthing dollar cheeks. Real ones just dealt to see crying to dust string pili her mother. I just run her saying he can string to one t-shirts on the flight home. Your choice. We checked out the next morning. Tiffany wore one of my plain gray shirts and her mom's spare shorts. Didn't say a word the entire flight back.